Hi, I am holding up a scarf. On April 28th, Elizabeth Wellington wrote in the Inquirer about how people were wearing scarves instead of masks. The last video my son and I made, I showed you how to make masks. I've made over 400 of them, but scarves are a lot easier to do, and they are very glamorous. And on top of it, you don't need to know how to sew. You don't even have to know how to use a sewing machine. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. You can see some scarves I've already made. Here's one that I made. This was years ago. The blouse is long since worn out, but you can see that I can use it with red blouses or gray ones or white ones. Here's another scarf that goes with this blouse I made. Here is another blouse I made, and these are scarves. We're planning to make more videos, and we're going to be showing you how to do some of these sample making techniques. But right now, we're just going to show you how to make scarves, and it's really, really easy. On the table, I have laid out some fabric. This is fabric left from making the mask, and I'm going to show you how to make a scarf with that. Here is chiffon, and this, of course, matches this blouse here. Everybody thinks chiffon is terrible to cut, but I'm going to show you the secret so you know how to do it. You either need tracing paper, which you can buy at an art supply store, or if you don't have that, you can use wax paper. And most of us have some of that in our homes. This is a blouse I made several years ago. When I worked in the industry, I worked in very high end. And chiffon, as we know, is very hard to put buttonholes in. So a solution to that is instead to sew the buttons on the right side, as I've done here, and to put covered snaps to hold it together. And you can see it'll snap right together like that, and I haven't cut through the chiffon. Notice that the whole thing matches. In future videos, I'm going to show you some of these techniques. Now, cutting chiffon, like I said, everybody thinks it's a terrible hassle. But the secret is to sandwich it between tracing paper, which is what I've done here. This is fabric left over from making the blouse. When I laid it on my grid, I found that this angle here looks pretty good. Now you'll see that it looks a bit rippled, but that's because this is bias. If you know about fabric, anything cut on the bias, which is at a 45 degree to the straight or cross grain, tends to stretch, and that's what's happened here, but that's not something to worry about. However, when I laid it on the grid, I found that this side needs to be straightened, and I'm going to straighten this, and when you watch me do it, you'll see that sandwiched between tracing paper or, like I said, wax paper, it's no big deal. I take my shears now, and I'm going to cut through the line like this. And what you see is a perfect cut, no problem. I used a 4-foot straight edge to make the line. There are a lot of very good things in hardware stores that help us with our sewing, and a 4-foot straight edge is one of them. You can use this to mark out belts. Just trace on both sides like this, lay it on the fabric, zoom, zoom, you've got it marked. Also, these weights, these washers, they were the biggest washers sold in our local hardware store, and I'm using them as weights. Notice I'm not using any pins at all. So now I'm going to finish cutting this scarf out. As I said, I don't need to cut the long edge. Apparently that was cut on the bias back when I cut the blouse. So now I'm going to cut, this is on the cross grain. When fabric is woven, it's the straight of the grain, it parallels the selvage, which is right here. And this is the cross grain. The threads go in this way, are called the fill. As you can see, tracing paper makes cutting chiffon easy. And this is the way you want to cut any slippery fabric. So there we go. I'm going to take the paper away, and you can see that this is a very clean edge. Oops, a little bit right here may need to be fixed. Just this little tiny speck. I'm a perfectionist, as you can see. So I'll just put a little paper over top of that And I'll get that little tiny bit straight, but it probably isn't going to matter when I make the scarf. And we'll just take off that little tiny bit. And now it looks nice and straight. Now, I'm going to hand roll this edge and this edge, and we'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. This edge is selvage, and it's very good selvage. So why on earth would I hand roll it? Maybe it matters, but I don't think it does, and I don't think anybody is going to say, oh, Laurel, you didn't hand roll the selvage. What on earth possessed you? Because first of all, I don't think anybody's even going to see it. So I've cut the scarf in chiffon, and here it is. I'm just going to pick it up, and you can see, all right, I can wear this around my face. But chiffon is loosely woven. It's not really suitable for virus protection. So I wanted to show you how to do it because I know you all want to know. Who wouldn't want to know how to make a chiffon silk scarf? But to be practical, this fabric would probably be better for the problems we're facing right now. This is fabric that's been left over from making the mask. And I've laid it out like this, and if I bring it around my face like this, I find I have enough to make a scarf. And so now I'm going to show you how to cut it out. I want to cut it so it will fold down just like this. This is the 45-degree angle to the straight grain, and bias gives a nice fold to fabric. So when I wear it, this is going to go across my nose. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away this advertisement because I don't want that to be on my scarf. And it's easier to cut right to left. This is the way it's done in the industry. If you're left-handed, it's left to right, of course. So I'm just going to cut across. You'll notice that I don't need any tracing paper to cut this. This is just cotton fabric. Alright, so I've cut that side. And then I'm going to turn it over. And as you can see over here, there's a cut here. So I don't want that. I'm going to lay this on a 45-degree angle on my grid. And I'm going to take my good old trusty 4-foot straight edge. And I'm going to lay it like this and line it up with the grid. And I'm going to mark right across like that. And I can see it. So I'm going to cut like this. There. And guess what? I've got it cut. And it's going to go around like this. Cover me up. Oops, it'll cover me up pretty good, don't you think? Alright, now I'm going to show you how to finish the edges. I'm not going to sew anything on the machine, like I said before. So now I'm going to show you how to do that. So now I'm going to show you the trick to this. And it's very, very easy. Watch closely. See this? Here's my thread. Here's one end up here, and here's the other end down here. Alright. I'm going to take this muslin and I'm going to turn it over about 1/4 inch or a little less. You'll be able to fold just a little bit less if you're sewing with chiffon. So I put the needle in down here below the edge of the folded muslin. And then I take a little stitch right through the very top of the muslin. You have to keep your thread under control here. That needs to hang out there. You need to leave this loose because when you come around this side, you may need to tie this thread in with the thread as you're finishing this edge to make it nice and neat. Take a little stitch here. This takes a while, so don't do this during the day. Don't sit down on Monday morning and say, okay, I'm going to make myself a chiffon scarf. Instead say, okay, I'm going to sit with my husband tonight while he watches TV and he wants to watch the sports or something that I'm no interest in. So I will hand roll my chiffon scarf while he watches whatever it is he's interested in. And that way I'll get what I want and he'll have what he wants. And just a little bit again. Now, of course, when you're doing this in the actual scarf, you're using the same color, so it's not going to show. But I'm using black thread because I want it to show up on the video so you can see just how it's done. And I'm going back and forth, and this takes a while. It's slow. I don't tend to use a thimble much, but if you want to, that's good too. I find they're always falling off my finger and they're a nuisance. But on occasion I use them when I'm sewing in fabric that's thick and heavy, because then I have to. I have my fingers all beat up. Alright, I'm going to do just a little more here. And then in a minute, you're going to see the magic. And this is so easy. Okay, now here we go. Alright, I'm going to hold this thread here because I don't want it to pull out, because remember there's no knot in there. And I'm just going to pull like this, and voila, we have a hand rolled edge. And that's how you do it. And when you come around here, you have to be very careful and stitch it in very nice. I'll show you where I've done this on another scarf. This is the scarf that I cut. I've already sewn quite a bit of it, and you can see that I have pulled it in. And then when I need more thread, I put another thread in, and these ends I tie together and then sew them into the hand roll, and I can pull it in so that it tightens up right in through here. Okay, let's make that even. And that's what you do as you go along. Now when you get to these corners, here you can see a corner of the same fabric, and you just very carefully sew this second hand rolled seam over top the first, and you can see it closes up very nicely. This is on an angle, and this one is on a square point, and just sew the one over the top with just a couple little stitches, and that's how you finish the point. Alright, and one other thing you can do with this technique is when you are making a blouse, say with chiffon, you can use the hand rolling to finish the hem around the bottom, because you wouldn't want machine stitching there. And you can see it finishes off very, very nicely. So that's it, ladies. Thanks for watching. And we'll have more for you. Keep looking, because we're going to be making some more videos. I'm going to show you some of these high-end tricks that I'm sure you'd like to know. They aren't really tricks. It's the way the professionals do it, here and in Paris. Bye. We're going to show you how to do some of these things in future videos. So if you're really interested in learning how to sew, keep watching. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you wish. That way you'll always be notified, or you can go on my website and sign up for email blasts so that you don't miss any of this. And little by little, you'll find that you'll be sewing very, very well. It is much easier to use industrial methods. The easiest way to achieve professional results. We're going to try and make this information available to you.